Okay, so let's give everyone a minute to reconvene. We had a very interesting discussion. It was very, very nice to be in a small size setting and able to interact directly. So let's just wait for a few more seconds. I think the rooms will be closed like automatically in a few seconds.
Yeah, I think most people are back. I think the room.
Okay.
It was too short, though. It was too short.
Yes, of course. It was too short, but extremely insightful. So now what we are going to do is for each of these 6 rooms, we are going to hear from the spokesperson for 1 minute. So I'm going to be very very hard on this one. I will let you know that you really are at the end of your minute because we need to close on time. Maybe Lee, we could stop sharing the screen so that we will see everyone. And if you're welcome to open up your camera so we can see each other's. That's very nice. So for room 1, who's the spokesperson? So and you should just turn on your mic, obviously. Room 1. Do we have a spokesperson? Or do we have a chair? Or do
No,
we?
yes, we do have a spokesperson. We were room 1, so
Have it. Okay. So where is the spokesperson now?
Hello.
Let's
Hardik?
Hardik?
Yes, I'm a spokesperson.
Wonderful.
So,
Yes, we can see
sorry,
you.
I did not know the
The
number
number.
wise. Which one
Yes.
is the room
no,
number one?
I didn't
Yes.
say. I'm sorry, it was my fault.
Yeah. No problem. So Hardik, to you now for 1 minute. What were the key highlights?
We were the 4 people, and uh, two from India and Brazil, and 2 from UK and Japan. So a diverse sort of discussion happened, like formal economies like Japan and UK, and more informal worker participation, informal economy like India and Brazil. We talked about the gig worker and their social security rights in India, mobilization of gig workers, the strategies, the strengths, and also some of the challenges. We have discussed the Gig Worker Social Security Act, which was one of its kind, which was passed in India. And I've been part of some of the mobilization and delegation work with the government and with the unions in India. So I've shared those ideas. There were also some ideas about top-down mobilization for democratic innovation from a friend from Japan, Toyota. We said that maybe in companies, democratic innovation to provide more labor rights, social security, and to push the principle of decarbonize uh, by the top management authorities in the company by let's say adhering to some of the international labor rights laws, ILO principles and guidelines. It's something like that we have discussed.
Thank you, Hardik. Yes, thank you so much. Very interesting. We look forward to read the whole notes taken during your discussion. It seems to be very, very interesting. Now let's hear from room 2.
Yes, so I'm Thibaut Crismer. I'm the moderator, the last minute moderator for the room 2 and the last minute spokesperson. Nice to meet you. In this session, we talked about different things, but one of the priority actions that we could develop at the level of this network is that we need a stronger connection between the different national chapters, and we need tools to connect as deeply as well as frequently inside our network and between the national chapters So maybe an ongoing channel to share research within our group would be very welcome. We also discussed the use of AI, first as a leverage for organization to develop democratic practices, but for research as well, for instance, to uncover democratic traces in organizational practices. And in the end, we think that this group could be a resource for real-world organizations that are seeking to democratize. And this would be possible by developing tools that we could share with organizations for them to organize democratically, but in an open access way, if possible, because that would be the most interesting.
Thank you, Thibaut. Super interesting. Group 3.
Hello. So in group 3, we were from Brazil, Germany, France, but also lived in the US, in the UK, and in Canada. So we were like sort of very diverse. We talked about how universal income could help our case to guarantee that people have like a minimal basic essential for everything. And this way, work would be more democratic, let's say. We also spoke about the importance of sharing positive stories, positive cases that we could use to try to build a case of how things could improve. We spoke about how the network could serve as an inspiration for other scholars, sharing those stories, but also inspiring in general to have people thinking similarly. And finally, we spoke about the idea of creating profiles of the members of the Democratizing Network to show what we are doing, who we are, and maybe if we are available to give advice, what kind of advice and support we can give, and more opportunities to connect our research. So maybe if we need a researcher who has such skills to work on such data, we could very well connect online with people from all over the world, and maybe even invite each other for speaking and conferences or creating a summer school. That was also an idea. I hope I covered everything. If not, please jump in.
That's very rich indeed. Thank you
Muito
very
obrigada. Bom ver brasileiras.
So room 4 then. Room 4 has a moderator, maybe?
Yes, I was the moderator, and
Okay.
voila, Marie-Thérèse, I see
Okay,
she's
yes,
we were breaking out.
I'm unmuted now. I couldn't find it anymore. Yes, we have also had a very, very interesting discussion with a variety of people. It started and finished with the unions. The discussion started with the unions, the divide between academics and the unions, and that led actually to this divide between what the law and the practices. The practices, you have the laws, and the laws are usually very good, but the practice is totally different. We are taking as an example high-skilled migrants in Europe, for example, but we also had examples on. Well, we had one person from NHS, which is very interesting because they have huge issues at the moment and very burning issues. In the UK, the problem is, and I think this is one of the things that came back, is the visibility. Are we visible enough? Are the people visible enough? Do we get to the press? Do we get it with the cases of NHS, of other, divides between law and practice, etc.? Are we loud enough in a certain sense? Yeah.
Thank you, Marie-Thérèse. I'm sorry. I need to.
Time is up.
Time is up. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
That was, yeah.
Super interesting. Certainly only a fraction, but we will read what you covered. Thank you so much. Room 5.
Yeah, I think we're room 5. So the core ideas that we discussed were that firstly, as a network, we need to put across the idea of the importance of work in itself as an important tool for social transformation. And so the meaningfulness of work as a way of empowerment and social transformation needs to be stressed upon more as a network, and we should not forget its importance as a way of enabling people to build a better life. Then we also thought about how do we build better bridges between what the current capitalist economy is and what our ideal is, and so how do we collaborate more with organizations, ground level collectives which are working towards that, how to integrate with the social economy and the objective of making social economy more mainstream. This also includes how we bring field practitioners and research and people who are working on the ground into our discussions and workshops, so that we get a more grounded perspective going beyond academia and research, so that how these things are panning out on ground and what are the real life impacts of these. Then finally, from the Indian contingent, we were also proposing to set up a sort of a India and global workshop, international workshop, to talk more about the Indian Employment Guarantee Program.
Thank you, Krishna. Yes. Thank you, Krishna. We are going to have all these ID in, and then the room 6 spokesperson.
Yes, that would be me.
Okay, Klaas.
Yes, we were a mixed group, as the others were as well, from Germany, Italy, Uganda, Chile, Canada, and France. And we've got some important points. Firstly, that newly formed governments have been a problem here and there. For example, in Germany or Italy, the governments tend to go anti-workers' rights, and that's a problem. And therefore, for example, the decarbonization principle falls back in priority. Regarding other job politics themes. But the other big point we discussed was that the network has a challenge quite everywhere, how we can actually get out of the space of academia into other spaces like unions and all these other spaces that, for example, works very good in Italy, as I've been told. And there were two ideas. One would be to free up people who have not already established a platform of their own, who are not professors in academia or who are not people publishing books already, and somehow freeing them up, maybe with a fund, maybe to do a social media project, for example, with all these connections that we can share, and to find them the time and energy to do so. And the second quick thing is maybe to designate some official ambassadors of the network who have no other purpose than to go right into groups like the unconditional basic income groups, and speak for the network in those cases, because they would listen way more to our ideas if we designated them with the status.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. That's very interesting, and we definitely will have we have a lot of work to go through all these ideas. Thank you so much. I think it has been a super encouraging set of discussions, but we need to bring this moment to a close. So be sure the core group will review all these very carefully. The conversations we have today, I think, only affirmed the need to continue our work. We will find more appropriate ways, strengthened by your help, by your involvement. And I want to close then with a hopeful note, another yet very hopeful development. It is a call to action that is, we can say, an offspring of the Democratizing Work manifesto, and that will be officially released at the end of this month in Spain. So you might remember at the end of the manifesto, there is this sentence that say these 3 principles, they are not new, they are historic, and they are already practiced. It is the field of social economy which contains those practices, those experimentations that best practice the 3 principles. This is a call to action that has been is there for you to read and for you to sign. I signed it myself. I think we should all sign it, and I think we should actually share it as widely as possible. So we are going to include it in our newsletter, to invite the whole network to sign it. This is very inspiring because it shows also that 5 years after one thing we did together, we are actually having an impact. And there are so many ways, so many unknown ways through which what we do is going to have an impact in the future. So today we shared inspiring developments. We also know the sobering news of the state of the world. But really, thank you so much to all of you for being here on behalf of the core group. We are going to review all your input and we will be back in touch. So our channel to communicate is really the newsletter. So please make sure your newsletter doesn't go into the spam. And let's be in touch. I want to close by thanking Shantanu from Wage Indicator Foundation and the Wage Indicator Foundation team, who's been a fantastic co-organizer of our global workshop series, and thanking Lee for the special assistant for today's meeting, which has taken some time in the making. And so thank you everyone for your collaboration. It's been a pleasure to be together. And so now on to the next 5 years.